My name is Derek Yule, and I'm a solutions architect with Amazon Web Services in the ASEAN region. So I'm up here today to introduce our next two speakers on stage. So first of all, we will have Senthil Ramani, who is a managing director for Accenture. And secondly, we'll also have Kamal Manar, who is the data scientist lead for Asia Pacific for Accenture. So what they'll be talking about is some interesting insights that they've obtained from dealing with 3 different customer case studies where Accenture brought an innovative value add to the solution together with Amazon Web Services. So interesting enough, of course, if you're not familiar with Accenture, although you probably should be, they are an Amazon Web Services Partner Network premier consulting partner, and they've actually been using AWS since 2006, which is basically when AWS was first founded. So they're very knowledgeable on our platform and a great partner of us to work with. And to that point, we also, in October of 2015, started a joint partnership. The Accenture AWS Business Group was actually founded at that point of time. So you'll see a lot coming out from that particular relationship as we move forward. So without further ado, let me introduce or bring Senthil on stage and hand everything over to you. Please give a warm welcome to Senthil.
Thank you, boss. Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much. Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Extremely excited to be here, and especially to talk about a unique and a distinctive proposition that we have for our clients through our alliance with AWS and Accenture. But what is more important also, just so you know, and I have a bit of an insight for you here, is that the lunch outside is really good. Because when I walked in, I was like, I'm absolutely going to lose this audience. So we've got to really do 2 things here. Okay, that's the task cut out for AWS and Accenture. Number 1, we've got to make this interesting. Number 2 is we've got to make this interactive. So we promised to do this in 3 different pieces. Number 1, let me give you a bit of a context and background on where the industry is and why we believe this is extremely important. Number 2 is we are going to give you and show you real-life projects. I'm not talking POCs. I'm not talking pilots. I'm talking projects at scale. Thousands of users, multi-terabytes of data coming through, more than 15 different sources of data coming through, etc. So I'm going to walk you through those examples and the journeys and what we did well and what we can do better, right, as part of this journey. The last thing is, we thought, why don't we actually kick in a live demonstration of the AWS IoT platform along with what we've been doing with them here in our facility in Singapore. So that's the third part. And the reason we kept it at the end was we were hoping to keep you here for the 25 minutes here, right? So now, given that context here, let me tell you that what is very interesting here in the journey we are starting to see in analytics is that it's no more a secret that organizations who are leaders today and who will be tomorrow are the ones who use data and who are insight-led. But there are 3 important things they do really well. Number 1 is that the speed with which decisions are being made. Number 2, the economics in which the decisions are being made. And number 2, the safety and the security in which these decisions are being made. And if you notice, you see an industrial context here. I mean, I come from an industrial background. My colleague Kamal comes from an industrial background. We've seen advanced analytics being used a lot in consumer, in telcos, as you saw the example of the presenter just before, as well as in insurance and the consumer industry. But I want to tell you here, ladies and gentlemen, that advanced analytics and the power of AWS, along with Accenture, has arrived in the industrial IoT context, full stop. And here we are to tell you why and how this journey has just begun here. If you take a look at a journey of our clients today, you'd start to look at most of the industrial majors we have. They take 3 steps to achieve that. As you can see here, the first step that they take is enhanced visibility and integration of their systems. Disparate systems, you're talking about SCADA systems, PLC systems, operational systems. You do know that 70 to 80% of them are asset heavy. They are pipes running underground. 2/3 of the world has pipes underground. You're talking about industrial setups all over the world right now with dynamic supply chains. The second important transition they make is use this data and start to predict and optimize the supply chain. And there are a few organizations who've reached there. And the third important one is not to get these insights, but how do you close the loop with the business? How do you integrate it back to the vein of the business? And it's a huge challenge to doing that. You can start to see how the power of AWS and Accenture now comes together in the form of consulting, technology, and that integration and the intersection being extremely key here. So we're going to walk you through these journeys here in terms of these 3 steps as well. And as I do that, I want to introduce AIP to you today, the Accenture Insights Platform. I promise to challenge my AWS colleagues with as many number of abbreviations today in front of you, right? So my journey starts now. AIP. What is AIP? AIP is Accenture Insights Platform. The Accenture Insights Platform is an end-to-end analytics platform based on the cloud. It is on the Accenture Cloud Platform, which is a multi-cloud platform primarily on AWS. We use multiple different technologies there. We use EC2, Redshift, EMR, as well as S3 as part of the strategy here. And there are 5 things we bring to our clients and organizations who use AIP. Number 1 is that we enable an ingestion layer of the data. I just gave you an example of the number of data points that we take in. In some clients, we run at 7 terabytes. In some clients, we run at 20 terabytes. In one of the clients that we're going to showcase to you today, we are ingesting at 14-second interval directly from the plant systems. You can make the math in terms of having 200,000 sensors and assets out there. You can just see the math and the computation power that it actually requires. The second important thing is on data visualization and data management. Number 3 is an ability to take all of that and create insights with thousands of algorithms that have been baked into the AIP. Number 4 is a safe and a secure, and I keep coming back to this, especially in the IoT context, because that's very key. A lot of the projects don't go forward because of 3 reasons today. Number 1 is a solid business case. Number 2 is safety and security being a concern. And number 3 is talent. And we are hoping to solve all 3 with this alliance, and that's really the journey we are in today. The last point that I wanted to tell you is the commercial construct of AIP. The commercial construct of AIP is very interesting. It's as a service, it's pay by the drink. And the reason we did that was we didn't want any upfront investment costs for our clients. We wanted to go and enable them at speed to be able to get their outcomes. Now, how do we do that? Now, Derek just explained to you our unique, distinct, and differentiated partnership with AWS. Now, we've had this for 10 years, but we made a significant announcement in 2015, last year, on going to the market with 2 capabilities to begin with. The first capability is to enable our clients to make the jump, make the transition of their IT services and legacy systems into the cloud. That includes strategy, that includes application rationalization, that also includes an ability to run it as a factory basis at a price point which is unbeatable and unmatchable in the market. The second important thing is to, and the focus of today, if you will, is advanced analytics and big data. And using that, the power of the examples that we are about to show you as well. And what is interesting about this partnership, coupled along with AIP, and the type of clients we're going to talk to you about today, would hopefully bring to you and to bring to life the uniqueness of what we are talking about. The examples that we're going to show you, and I'm going to the next section right now, 3 examples, completely different industries in the form of what we are doing within these industries. And number 2, they are not pilots. They are not proof of concepts. These are at-scale, multi-country rollouts with AWS and thousands of users using the same. So let me go to the first example here. You and I are consumers. We go to the fuel pumps, we go to the convenience stores. And as consumers today, we have extremely different needs. We want to have tailored needs. So what we've been able to develop for one of the world's largest oil and gas companies globally, based in Europe, has been this very service: customer efficiency and customer rationalization, tailored needs at the point in which they make decisions. So I want to introduce a term to you called decision making at the point of consumption. This is extremely critical because the way you capture consumers today is based on micro moments. And if you are able to capture those micro moments, you can have a significant leapfrogging capability in understanding them and servicing them as well. And in this particular case, 3 things that we did. Number 1, was we were able to give them tailored loyalty and campaign programs. Number two, we were able to increase the wallet share, both on the fuel side as well as on the convenience side. And number three, and also extremely important, is that we were able to increase overall the spend of a consumer at any of the fuel stations, which is the fundamental need for any oil and gas provider, especially in the market that we are in today. And given this, I also wanted to tell you the way we modeled the delivery around it, along with AWS, Accenture coming together, was using Greece, using India, using multiple different hubs in a multi-center delivery model for this particular client. We've gone live in over 7 countries with thousands of terminal managers and users across these countries as well. That's the first example. Let me go to the next example here, water. We all know that water, we are in a very, very dramatic and a seismic stage in life right now, especially with water. If you actually go by countries, the chronic shortage of water is a huge, huge challenge. Advanced analytics can really help solve this. And it can help solve this in 3 different ways. Number one is by providing situational intelligence. So here is an example of one of the largest networks in Europe of a water company. It's a water company, and it's a wastewater facility as well. So you've got pipes, you've got assets, you've got treatment facilities, multiple different range of assets, and it's geographically distributed. And hence why the first thing that we did was situational intelligence. The second thing we are able to do is predict when the pipes are going to give way. And it's very important because the spend for a water company on CapEx is by changing these pipes, by understanding what's happening, the corrosion percentage, and so on. And number 3, which is very, very critical, is water management. The fundamentals of where the demand is and where the supply is extremely critical to solve in water. Now, all this was done with multiple different data points coming in from their SCADA systems, their PLC systems, the catchment areas, the reservoirs, and all of their terminal systems as well. And pulling all this data together on the AWS infrastructure, as well as Accenture on top, providing the analytics layer and the execution layer for these analytics within their business as well. So I give you 2 examples, both of them very key. The next one I'm going to go really deep into. And I'm going to tell you who the next one is as well. So let me stop with surprises here anymore. The next one is Woodside. And I'll really request you to probably roll the video right now. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please look to the left. You will start to see a video I'm going to stream. And the reason I'm streaming this is so that you can start to see the plant. So I'm talking about Woodside, which is one of the world's largest LNG facilities. This is, as you can see, in Western Australia. And yes, it is easier to reach Western Australia from Singapore than to go to Melbourne. I think that's an important note. So we've been there many times, and we work very closely with the client. And this journey with the client has been one of the most memorable journeys we've ever had. And it started probably 2 years back. And what is interesting, when you see this facility, I'm giving you a helicopter shot of this facility right now. I'm zooming into the facility. And this LNG facility, at this point in time that you can see, is fairly complex. It's fairly diverse as well. And this is one LNG train I'm talking about. This is the Pluto facility. And it probably has more than 200,000 sensors in this facility as well. So I'm talking about a very, very complex network of data streams coming in and the analytics that need to be run on top of it. As you can see, I just showed you one LNG train here. I'm going to zoom in here for you. And as I zoom in here for you, you're going to start seeing some of the assets and the equipments here as well in this facility. And if you notice, I'm actually zooming into one of the key units called AGRU. It's the acid gas removal unit. And the acid gas, that's the second or the third abbreviation I used, so hopefully I can use it back again later. The acid gas removal unit takes toxic gases out of the supply chain. I mean, that's effectively before you load the ship. And it uses a process called the foaming process, something that happens in a Coke or a Pepsi bottle. And I'm using both here deliberately, just so, because I believe we are getting recorded here. And it's very important because if you miss the foaming process, and no one from externally can actually have a visibility into it, because this process happens inside. And it's important because if you are able to track it, you can let the process go through and you don't need to shut down your plant. So what was interesting at this point in time was that we had a potential challenge which was solved. And the reason why data science and analytics became extremely critical if you notice one thing here, and we can probably pause the video and get back to the slide. If you notice one thing here, yes, technology is extremely critical. But digital transformation fundamentally starts with some of these business challenges we see and how we can start to use the data and the technology behind to enable that. With that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Kamal, who's our lead data scientist at Woodside, to walk you through the specifics and the details here. Kamal?
Thanks, Sen. So I'm going to quickly talk about what did we do from a data science perspective. So as Sen mentioned earlier, this is about scale, not about a single asset or a proof of concept. Here we're looking at monitoring the entire plant, which could have hundreds of assets and thousands of sensors reporting data back in real time. Challenge for us was where to start, right? Where are the opportunities across these hundreds of assets where machine learning and predictive analytics can help? Which is where we looked at an approach that was about prototyping small, identifying where the opportunities are, where are we accurate enough to actually lead to business outcomes and interventions from an operator perspective, and then scale it up. So what we did essentially was leverage a large library of analytic models or data science models or machine learning models and allowing them to compete against each other for a given set of problems. So it's about automating the data science process, being able to industrialize it. So at the end of the day, we can quickly see which opportunities are we accurate enough, which machine learning model is the best, or which ensemble of machine learning models is the best, and take that as a solution that works and scale it quite fast. And that's where our cloud-based infrastructure really helps us to achieve that. So that was one. The second key aspect was making sure it's not a black box model. At the end of the day, from an engineering standpoint, it's important not just to have a model that is accurate, but also the insights are understandable. Because if it's a black box, from an engineer standpoint, it's useless because they don't know what to do with it. So for us, there were two key aspects from a data science perspective, making sure model is really accurate, and then making sure it's understandable, the insights. Why is the model predicting something? What is causing it to make a certain prediction so it's actually actionable? The second aspect of this is once we had thousands of models that are good enough to be deployed, how do we actually deploy it from a real-time monitoring standpoint? So here we leveraged Spark as part of our Lambda architecture. So this was one of the world's largest or the world's first Spark implementation from an industrial IoT perspective. We're actually monitoring a stream of data that's about 12 million records a minute, generating 500,000 predictions a day. So again, this talks about the scale of what we're doing. All of these models are accurate enough from a business standpoint. They're adding value, but they're also running in real time to be able to generate these insights. And the other key aspect for us is making sure it's modular. Again, cloud enables us to do that as technology changes. Also modular from a data science standpoint, because a model could be working well today, but it could actually degrade over a period of time. So how do we quickly replace models to maintain accuracy? And how do we do that as automatically as possible with minimum impact to our clients? So that's a quick view of what we did from a data science perspective and how we're actually implementing it for our clients. With that, I'll pass it back to Sen.
Thank you so much, Kamal. That's a great example of volume, scale, robustness you need in architecture, and a true business challenge that you're trying to solve for some of our clients here. With that, I'm going to close this section. I'm going to go to the third section and the last section here. And we kind of challenged ourselves in the digital world. You got to take some risks, many of it, and you got to challenge ourselves. So we said, why don't we actually show you live our center from here? So our center, which is the Innovation Center for IoT, is a few blocks away. We thought we will live stream that here. And in live streaming that, what we are going to show you is a few things. And I just wanted to set some context here before I started with this demonstration. It's good to have insights, but it's extremely important to get those insights back into the hands of who needs to take those decisions at the right time, at the right place. And this is the key part that we want to explain here, is that we showed you how analytics and insights can enable this, how the AWS architecture is fundamentally important to enable that as well. But if you want to take it to the next level here, and this is where I wanted to start to show you about a plant here. So I'm streaming from our center here. Let me probably stand here, sorry. As you can see here, I'm streaming live. This is a plant. It's there in Marina Bay Financial Center right now. It's got 14 sensors on it. So it's got flow meters, flow transmitters, level transmitters, control valves, manual valves. You name it, it's got it. And it's pumping water here because, you are in the financial capital of Singapore probably. So that's the way the connected plant works here for us. And what we're going to show you right now is that how the analytics is transmitted, the leverage of the AWS IoT architecture, and what kind of decisions you can make with that in a digital way in order to control this plant. So my colleague here, Vas, is going to do that for us. And what he is going to be doing, everybody here can see because we're going to stream it live for you as well. So Vas, over to you. So what Vas is showing you right now is the plant. So this is streamed live, just so you know, and watch the water levels here. This is an exam question in 5 minutes for all of you. And if you see the status here, you see that the flow level transmitter is pretty low. So this is the analytics that's thrown back to the operator. In this case, the operator, Vas, all he's doing is using a normal cell phone at this point in time, right? With that, he's able to go back to the bypass valve, and it's a self-guided instruction. It's telling him, well, you know what, your valve, you need to close it, because until you close it, you're not going to be able to come back to the normal operating envelope. And once he does that, and he's actually going to locate the pump. So he's going to go back and locate the pump to see where the pump is so that he can start the pump so that he can get the water level back. And as he did this, if you notice, and I hope you notice, that the water level is just going up right now. So what we just performed was a less than a second operation, all on the AWS infrastructure on the cloud, by pulling in multiple different data points, streams, getting the insights in time to him, as well as him enabled in a digital way to operate the plant as well. And when he goes back to the level transmitter, you would have noticed that the water level really did go up as well. So Vas, thank you. Our experiment was successful. So now having said that, I want to do a quick close here. And the close that I wanted to tell you is that no more do we have proof of concepts and pilots. I think we've arrived in the big stage. It's about at scale, it's about industrial IoT, and it's about three things that our organizations and clients are doing today. They are trying to defend, disrupt, and differentiate themselves in a digital transformation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I think for the next few years, we are in here for a really interesting game and a journey here. I want to thank our AWS colleagues for this opportunity from an Accenture's behalf, as well as the unique relationship that we've actually started to build with them.